The galaxy was wide, full of stars, planets, and civilizations of all kinds. Some worlds were proud and rich with technology. Others were small and struggling. Yet even among all these, there was a planet called Lithera, a fragile, quiet world on the edge of the Arendor cluster. Its people were tall, with delicate bodies and translucent skin that shimmered like glass under their dim sun. Once, the Litherans had been part of the Galactic Union, respected and known for their intelligence. But one mistake changed everything. A failed negotiation, a miscalculated signal, something small in the eyes of the galaxy, but enough for the leaders of other worlds to turn their backs. Suddenly, the Litherans were cast out, labeled as dangerous and untrustworthy. Starship after starship passed them by, ignoring their distress. Their cities, once bright with energy and laughter, became empty. The streets were silent. The children grew up learning only despair. Even the elders spoke in whispers, afraid of being noticed by the rest of the galaxy. The Litherans watched the stars every night, hoping someone would come, yet no one ever did. Their sun began to die slowly, their crops failed, and the air grew thinner. The world felt colder, darker. They felt forgotten, lost, abandoned, but there were humans. Humans who had long watched the galaxy, curious and relentless. Humans who had a reputation for fearlessness and for helping where others refused. Earth had detected Lithera's distress signals long before anyone else paid attention. And unlike other civilizations, humans did not ignore cries for help. Captain Elias Ward stood in the command room of the starship Aurora, a steady figure among his crew. His eyes were fixed on the flickering holographic map showing Lithera's orbit. "We are going in," he said, his voice calm but firm. "They are in trouble. No one else will help them. We will." The crew, a mix of humans trained to survive the hardest conditions in space, nodded in agreement. They knew the galaxy had rules, treaties, and politics, but humans had a history of breaking rules when it mattered. Humanity acted when others hesitated. They acted for hope. As the Aurora approached Lithera, the planet slowly came into view. Pale blues and violets stretched across its scarred surface. Cities half collapsed and smoke rising from long-abandoned factories. Even from orbit, the planet looked fragile, as if it could break with a single mistake. Elias's heart ached for the Litherans. "They have waited so long," he said quietly. "And now we are here." The landing was tense. Litherans had never seen humans in person. They were used to fear, to caution. Humans were large, strong, confident, almost overwhelming in their presence. The Litherans stepped back at first, unsure, fragile bodies trembling. But then a human medic stepped forward. Sarah, with her warm eyes and calm voice, knelt to greet the nearest Litheran child. "We are here to help," she said simply. That simple sentence, filled with sincerity, began to chip away at centuries of doubt. The Litherans had grown up in fear of the galaxy. They expected hostility, rejection, even violence. But humans brought none of it. Humans did not judge. Humans acted. Slowly, hope stirred in hearts that had long stopped believing it was possible. The first contact was careful. Humans offered food, clean water, medical aid. They repaired fragile shelters, brought energy to old generators, purified air and water. Every gesture, small or large, spoke of trust and care. The Litherans began to look around at what the humans had done and realized something incredible. Someone, at last, cared. Elder Veyron, one of the oldest Litherans, watched from the shadows. His body trembled, but it was not fear. It was disbelief. Why do they care?" he whispered to himself. "We are nothing to the galaxy, yet they came." Elias approached him and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Because we see value where others see weakness. We do not abandon anyone, not ever." The Litherans' minds were sharp and brilliant, though long under neglect had dulled their confidence. Humans noticed this. They began to teach, to share, to show them not only how to survive, but that life could be better than survival. The children laughed again, running through streets repaired by human hands. Their voices echoed across the empty plains, carrying hope and light. The adults, who had long carried only shame and doubt, started learning new ways, building tools, repairing infrastructure, and slowly reclaiming their world. Elias walked through the city, watching humans and Litherans work side by side. The galaxy may have cast them out, but humanity had arrived. And in that arrival, a small, fragile world began to breathe hope for the first time in generations. Above them, the dying sun of Lithera shone faintly, yet through the haze of dust and ruin, a soft glow reflected from the human ships. their structures in the eyes of the people. For the first time, Lithera did not feel abandoned. They felt seen. They felt alive. And they felt a flicker of something the galaxy had tried to take away forever: trust in life itself. The humans did not come to Lithera to rule, to lecture, or to claim victory. They came to help, and they did so with quiet determination. From the moment the Aurora's landing gears touched the scarred surface of the planet, humans and Litherans began working together. The humans started with the basics: water, air, and shelter. Old crumbling buildings were repaired, and new structures rose from the dust. Advanced filtration systems cleared the poisoned rivers. Oxygen generators hummed quietly, making the air easier to breathe. Children who had never known clean water or safe homes could now drink freely and sleep without fear. At first, the Litherans watched cautiously. They had been abandoned for centuries, taught to fear help because the galaxy had turned its back on them. But the humans were patient. They spoke slowly, showing rather than telling. They shared meals, taught new ways to work with machines, and repaired homes without asking for payment. Sarah, the medic, moved among the Litherans, tending to wounds and illness. She smiled at children who peeked around corners, her gentle words cutting through fear. "You are safe now," she said. "We will not leave." "Not ever," Elder Varen observed her from a distance. His translucent skin shimmered faintly under Lithera's dim sun. "They do not demand anything," he said softly. "They do not judge. They only give." Captain Elias walked beside him, looking over the growing settlements. "That is humanity," he said. "We see worth in everyone. We act when others ignore, and when the world turns away, we stay." Slowly, the Litherans began to show their true strengths. Their minds were brilliant, capable of understanding technology far beyond human knowledge. They painted beautiful murals that seemed to glow with inner light, built delicate machines that worked with incredible precision, and created songs that carried emotion humans could feel deeply. Yet, despite all this talent, many Litherans still doubted themselves. Generations of shame and neglect had left deep scars. Some hesitated to try new things, some whispered that the galaxy had been right. They were weak. But the humans did not scold, they did not pressure. They encouraged. They worked alongside the Litherans patiently, step by step. Human engineers showed them how to repair old starships. Children learned to assemble engines and circuits. Adults learned strategies for survival and defense. And slowly, the Litherans began to see a new truth. They were not weak. They were abandoned but not broken. The first festival after the humans arrived was a quiet, simple celebration. Litherans danced and sang in the streets, sharing stories of hope. Humans joined them, clumsy at first in the strange songs, but laughing, teaching the Litherans new rhythms and games. For the first time in decades, the planet was filled with joy instead of fear. Varen approached Elias's fireworks, created by human engineers, lit up the pale sky. "We thought the galaxy had forgotten us," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "But you have reminded us who we are. You have given us courage again." Elias shook his head gently. "The galaxy may have abandoned you, but humanity does not. Strength is not just survival, it is helping others survive too. You will remember this. You are never truly alone." As the days passed, Lithera transformed. Streets were no longer broken and empty. Schools reopened, teaching both old knowledge and new skills humans brought. Farms flourished, and clean water flowed through newly built canals. Even the air seemed fresher, cleaner, alive with hope. Children laughed freely, climbing hills and running along rivers that humans had purified. Adults, once quiet and unsure, began to take pride in their work. They repaired homes, built tools, and experimented with new ideas, often guided gently by their human teachers. The humans also taught the Litherans lessons beyond tools and machines. They showed them how to trust, how to plan, how to stand tall when others tried to push them down. They shared stories of Earth, of human victories and failures, of times when humans had been underestimated but had persevered. For the first time, Litherans understood something they had forgotten. Life could be more than fear and survival. They could dream, imagine, and create. They could look at the stars not as a place that abandoned them, but as a place full of possibilities. Elias walked through a street where children played, holding hands with humans and Litherans alike. Sarah moved among them, laughing with the children. Varen, observing from the steps of a rebuilt hall, felt tears sting his eyes. For centuries, his people had believed they were forgotten. Now they had family among the stars. Humans who had not only arrived but stayed. That night, as Lethera's pale sun set behind distant mountains, a sense of calm settled over the planet. The humans did not simply repair buildings or purify water, they rekindled hope. And the Litherans, once cast out by the galaxy, began to see that perhaps this was the start of something greater than survival. The start of a life worth living, guided by trust, courage, and humanity. The galaxy had abandoned them, yes, but humans had arrived. And that made all the difference. Lethera had begun to breathe again. The laughter of children echoed through the streets. Gardens bloomed under careful human guidance, and schools hummed with the curiosity of students eager to learn. The fragile planet, once abandoned and forgotten, was alive with hope, but the galaxy never forgot. One quiet evening, as the twin moons of Lethera rose over the violet plains, a fleet of sleek warships appeared on the horizon. They came from the Galactic Union, the same civilization that had once cast the Litherans out. The fleet moved with authority, engines humming like the growl of some massive predator. Their arrival was not for aid. It was to enforce judgment. The Litherans froze. Many had never seen such power, such authority. Whispers ran through the streets. "They are back," one elder muttered. "They have come to take us, or destroy us." Captain Elias Ward stood on the highest ridge, watching the fleet with steady eyes. Behind him, Sarah held his arm, her calm presence grounding him. "They'll come," he said, "but we are ready. We won't let fear rule us. Humanity does not abandon." The Galactic Union's envoy broadcast a message across the planet. "Lethera has violated interstellar treaties. You are no longer recognized. Prepare to surrender your leaders and resources or face destruction." A chill ran through the Litherans. Generations of neglect and abandonment had left deep scars. Their instinct was to fear, to comply, to hide. But the humans had already shown them another path, one of courage, of standing tall, and of fighting for the right to exist. Elias gathered the leaders of Lethera. "Listen to me carefully," he said, his voice firm. "They may have more ships, more weapons, and more experience, but we have something stronger. We have each other. We have courage, and we have the will to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Humanity does not run from injustice. We stand, and now you will stand with us." The Litherans looked at him, uncertainty in their shimmering eyes, but there was something else too, a spark, faint but growing. Hope, courage, trust that the humans had never wavered. The first human engineers moved quickly, working alongside Letheran scientists. Together they converted old cargo ships into battle vessels. Shield generators were installed and energy turrets were constructed. The humans trained the Litherans in defensive tactics, showing them how to adapt, how to strike, how to survive. Children watched with wide eyes, some standing beside their parents as families prepared to protect their home. For the first time, they saw that survival was not about hiding. Survival was about facing danger together. When the first Union warship fired on Lethera, the planet shivered. Plumes of ash rose from the outskirts and alarms rang across the rebuilt cities. Humans and Litherans moved as one, quickly evacuating civilians while preparing countermeasures. Elias stood on the deck of the Aurora, coordinating attacks. "Remember," he told the pilots and engineers, "we fight to protect, not to conquer. Every action must save lives. Every strategy must defend hope." Sarah worked tirelessly in makeshift hospitals, treating burns, fractures, and injuries. The Letherans, once timid and fragile, learned quickly. They carried supplies, assisted the wounded, and even manned defensive stations under human guidance. Their fear transformed into determination, their hesitation into action. The first counterstrike shocked the Union fleet. Letherans had built clever traps using old terrain and human strategy. They fired bursts of energy from concealed positions, forcing the enemy ships to retreat temporarily. The humans cheered, but Elias reminded them, "This is only the beginning. Stay focused. Protect lives first, always." Elder Varen, watching from a secure tower, felt his heart swell. The people who had been abandoned, ridiculed, and feared across the galaxy were now standing tall. They were fighting, not for glory, but for survival, for life, and for the hope the humans had given them. As the night deepened, The sky above Lithera burned with the light of battle. The Human-Litheran alliance moved with precision, learning from each encounter, growing stronger, adapting faster than anyone expected. The planet itself seemed to pulse with renewed energy, as if it too were alive and determined to survive. Elias looked down at the city below. Fires glowed, but so did lights of recovery. People repairing, caring for the wounded, refusing to surrender to fear. They thought we would be easy prey, he muttered. They were wrong. Humanity does not abandon, and neither do we. For the first time in centuries, the Litherans understood what it meant to be truly protected, truly valued. The galaxy may have cast them out, but the humans had arrived. And with them a force stronger than any fleet. Hope, courage, and the unbreakable will to survive together. The battle had just begun. And Lithera, once fragile and forgotten, was ready to show the galaxy that even the smallest, most abandoned world could rise when helped by humanity. The sky over Lithera burned with light and fire. The Galactic Union's fleet advanced like a wall of steel, their weapons ready to crush the fragile planet below. Smoke rose from the outer settlements and the ground shook with explosions. But humans and Litherans did not falter. They stood together, united, determined to protect their home. Captain Elias Ward moved through the command center of the Aurora, his voice calm and commanding. Hold the shields. Protect the cities. We fight only to defend, never to destroy unnecessarily. Around him, human and Litheran pilots worked side by side, launching vessels built in record time. Every action was coordinated, every movement precise. On the ground, Sarah directed medics and volunteers. She moved quickly, helping the wounded and organizing the safe evacuation of civilians. Litherans, once fragile and uncertain, now carried supplies, assisted the injured, and operated defensive stations with surprising skill. Their fear had been replaced by determination, a courage born from the humans' unwavering trust. Elder Varen watched the battlefield from a tower, tears shining in his shimmering eyes. We were abandoned, forgotten, but now we fight, he whispered. Not alone, not afraid. The first wave of the Union fleet fired upon the planet's defenses. Energy beams cut across the sky and explosions rocked the landscape. But humans and Litherans had prepared well. Shield generators held strong and counterattacks launched from hidden positions. Litheran ingenuity combined with human strategy created traps the enemy could not anticipate. From the command deck, Elias observed a Litheran pilot named Kara, a young woman with translucent wings. She maneuvered a converted cargo ship with precision, dodging enemy fire while firing back accurately. She's remarkable, Elias murmured. She learned faster than anyone expected. Indeed, every Litheran who had once been timid now stood tall, fighting beside their human allies. Parents and children worked together to protect their homes. Scientists and engineers rerouted energy to damaged shields. Even artists, once focused on painting and music, used their creativity to design clever strategies and traps. The Union fleet underestimated them. They expected fear, hesitation, and surrender. Instead, they faced courage, planning, and teamwork. Humans moved calmly, protecting civilians and coordinating strikes. Litherans adapted quickly, combining their natural talents with the knowledge humans shared. The sky became a symphony of light, fire, and motion, a deadly ballet of determination and survival. Sarah ran to a young Litheran boy trapped in debris, lifting him into her arms. You are safe now, she said, smiling through her exhaustion. We will not let anything happen to you. The boy looked up, eyes wide, finally believing it. Elias activated the Aurora's long-range cannons. They struck only enemy positions, threatening civilians, precise and deliberate. Every action must save lives, he reminded his crew. We protect hope, not destroy it. Hours passed. The battle raged without pause. Energy beams lit the sky like artificial stars. Fires spread, only to be contained by teams of Litherans and humans working together. Explosions shook the ground, but the people of Lithera refused to yield. Their courage was infectious, spreading to everyone who had once feared the galaxy's judgment. Finally, a turning point arrived. Using a combination of human tactics and Litheran ingenuity, the defenders created a massive energy barrier around the capital. It absorbed the brunt of the Union fleet's fire, allowing counterattacks to disable several enemy ships. The Union, expecting an easy victory, was stunned. Elias allowed himself a small smile. "They thought we would break," he said quietly. "They thought Lithera would fall. They were wrong." On the ground, Varen and his fellow elders stood among civilians, witnessing the courage of their people. Litherans who had once whispered in fear now shouted commands, aided children, and fought to defend their home. Hope, long dormant, burned brighter than any star in the sky. As night fell, the remaining Union ships began to retreat, battered and surprised. Humans and Litherans cheered, exhausted but victorious. The city was scarred, but the people were alive. Their bonds, tested in fire and fear, had only grown stronger. Elias looked at Lithera from the command deck. Smoke rose, fires burned, but the planet still lived. "We have won a battle," he said. "But more importantly, we have shown what it means to protect each other. Humanity never abandons, and neither will Lithera." Sarah joined him, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "They have changed," she said. "The Litherans will never be afraid again. They now know the strength they carry, with us beside them." Elder Varen whispered to himself, watching children play among the ruins, laughter echoing against the destroyed buildings. "We were cast out, and yet we rise, because humanity chose to believe in us, because we learned to believe in ourselves." The battle for Lithera was over, for now. The planet had survived, its people had survived, and the galaxy had been reminded of something it had long forgotten. True strength is not in fleets or weapons. It is in courage, unity, and the willingness to protect the helpless. Above the shattered skies, stars glimmered faintly, and Lithera, fragile no longer, stood tall, ready to rebuild, ready to thrive, and ready to show the galaxy the power of hope and humanity. The battle for Lithera was over, but the planet bore deep scars. Cities were damaged, streets were cracked, and fires still smoldered in places. Yet amid the destruction there was life. Humans and Litherans worked side by side, repairing, rebuilding, and planting seeds of hope in the ashes. Captain Elias Ward walked through the streets of the capital, observing the work. He saw humans carrying supplies, teaching children how to rebuild, and guiding Litherans in repairing the infrastructure. Everywhere he looked there was motion, energy, and determination. Despite the pain and loss, the planet had not surrendered. Elder Varen followed close behind, his translucent skin shimmering in the soft light of the morning sun. "It is strange," he said quietly. "We were abandoned, and yet, here we are, alive. Not just alive, but rebuilding. Because of them. Because of humanity," Elias replied. "We do not leave anyone behind. And now you have a chance to see your own strength. You survived. You fought. And now you rebuild." Litherans were cautious at first. Generations of shame and neglect had taught them to doubt themselves. But the humans did not scold, they did not rush. They showed, encouraged, and celebrated every small victory. Children learned to climb rooftops to repair damaged roofs. Adults learned to use new machines to clean rivers and mend broken roads. Sarah, moving among the people, smiled as she watched a group of children laughing while rebuilding a playground. Their laughter was like music echoing through streets that had long been silent. "They are learning to trust again," she said softly. "Not just in us, but in themselves." The humans also taught the Litherans about leadership, responsibility, and hope. Town councils were formed, led by both Litherans and humans working together. Decisions were made fairly, voices were heard, and for the first time in generations, the people felt their opinions mattered. The Litherans discovered that they were stronger than they had imagined. The once fragile planet began to feel alive again. Crops grew in fertile soil, cleaned and prepared by human engineers. Schools reopened, filled with children eager to learn both the old knowledge of their ancestors and the new skills humans brought. One evening, Varen walked to the rebuilt plaza and watched families gather around glowing lamps. Humans and Litherans shared food, stories, and laughter. "I never thought I would see this day," he whispered. "The galaxy called us weak, yet here we stand. Alive, proud, and not alone." Elias approached, standing beside the elder. "You have changed," he said. "You are no longer the people who hid in fear. You fought, you learned, and now you rebuild. Humanity only gave you a chance, we showed you a path. The rest is yours to walk." Even the youngest Litherans began to feel pride. Children ran through the streets freely, some holding human hands, others helping elderly Litherans carry supplies. They played games that blended human and Litheran traditions. They laughed in a way the planet had not heard in decades, and each sound carried a reminder that hope had returned. The people also began to look outward. The scars of betrayal from the Galactic Union still lingered, but now they were tempered with confidence. They realized that survival was not just about hiding or waiting for help. They had learned to act, to defend themselves, and to trust those who had proven their loyalty. At night, when the twin moons rose over the violet hills, the citizens of Lithera gathered to watch the stars. Children pointed at the constellations, imagining journeys across space. Adults shared stories of bravery and survival, of humans who had arrived without hesitation, and of their own strength rediscovered. Elias stood among them, watching quietly. Sarah rested a hand on his shoulder. "They are finally believing in themselves," she said. "Not just in us, but in what they can do. That is the true victory." Varen closed his eyes, feeling the hum of life around him. "We were cast out, forgotten, abandoned. Yet we are alive. We are rebuilding. We are proud. And it is because of them, humans who never left our side." The streets, once broken and empty, now echoed with the sound of tools, laughter, and music. Gardens flourished where fires had burned. Schools taught lessons of knowledge and courage. Homes were repaired, and even the smallest acts, children helping elders, neighbors sharing food, became symbols of trust and unity. Lithera was no longer a planet of fear and despair. It was a planet of hope, of courage, and of trust rebuilt. Humanity had given them more than survival. They had given them life, pride, and a chance to believe again. And as the night deepened and stars twinkled above, the people of Lithera understood something profound. They were no longer abandoned. They were protected, guided, and inspired. The galaxy may have turned its back, but humanity had arrived, and with it, the Litherans had found a family among the stars. Months had passed since the battle. Lithera was no longer a planet of fear and ruin. It was alive with energy, laughter, and hope. Humans and Litherans had rebuilt cities, restored farms, and rekindled a sense of pride that had long been buried under centuries of shame. Children played freely, adults worked with confidence, and the air carried the scent of renewal. Elder Varen walked through the bustling streets of the capital, observing the harmony between humans and Litherans. "It is hard to believe," he murmured, "that we were ever abandoned. Look at us now. We live, we thrive, we are proud again." Captain Elias Ward stood beside him, his gaze on the horizon where the sun cast pale light over the violet plains. "We didn't just survive the galaxy's neglect," he said. "We learned to stand together, to protect each other, and to believe in ourselves. That is strength. That is humanity." The Litherans were determined not only to protect their world, but also to show the galaxy the truth. For too long they had been judged, ridiculed, and abandoned. Now, with humans as their allies, they were ready to speak their message, not as weaklings, but as survivors, as equals, as proud beings who had fought to reclaim their dignity. A massive broadcast array, built with human technology and Litheran ingenuity, hummed to life. Varen and Elias prepared to send a message to every star system in the galaxy. Children, artists, engineers, and elders watched as the first words of hope and defiance were transmitted across the stars. Varen's voice, strong and clear, echoed through the galaxy. "We were cast out, abandoned, and judged unworthy. The Galactic Union called us weak, said we would not survive, but we have survived. We have grown. We have fought. And we have learned the most important truth. Strength is not only in fleets or weapons. Strength is in courage, in unity, and in the willingness to protect the helpless." Elias added, his voice firm and unwavering. "The humans of Earth came to us when the galaxy turned away. They gave us hope, guidance, and protection. Humanity does not abandon. Humanity believes in the power of life, in the value of every being. Today we stand tall because they stood beside us, and together, we are ready to face the galaxy as equals." The transmission spread across light years, reaching distant worlds that had once ignored Lithera's cries. For the first time, the Litherans' voices were heard without judgment, without scorn, without dismissal. The galaxy listened, not to beggars, not to outcasts, but to survivors who had been lifted by humanity. As the message ended, cheers erupted across the capital. Children danced in the streets, Humans and Litherans alike joining in celebration. For generations, hope had been fragile on Lithera, but now it was strong, unshakable, and alive. Elder Varen looked up at the stars, tears glistening on his shimmering skin. "They called us weak," he whispered. "They thought we were nothing. But they were wrong. We are alive. We are proud. And humanity showed us the way." Elias turned to Sarah, smiling softly. "Do you see it?" he asked. "The galaxy may have doubted them, abandoned them, but now they have a voice. And it is loud, proud, and unbroken." Sarah nodded, her eyes reflecting the stars. "They have learned to trust themselves again. They have learned courage, and most importantly, they have learned that they are not alone. Humanity taught them that, and they will never forget it." Across the planet, Litherans worked and celebrated together. The rebuilt cities shone under Lithera's pale sun. Schools filled with laughter and learning. Gardens flourished. Families thrived. The scars of the past were still there, reminders of pain and neglect. But they were now symbols of survival and resilience. The message had another effect too. It inspired others across the galaxy. Civilizations who had long ignored the weak began to rethink their judgments. They saw what humans could do, what courage and compassion could achieve. Lithera became a beacon, a shining example that the galaxy could no longer ignore. Varen and Elias walked to the top of a hill overlooking the capital. Children played below, their laughter carried by the wind. "We have sent our message," Varen said softly. "Now the galaxy will see what we truly are." Elias nodded. "They will see that strength is not measured by fleets, treaties, or power alone. Strength is measured by courage, by trust, by willingness to stand for others. Humanity taught that lesson, and Lithera is living proof." The twin moons rose over the horizon, casting a silver glow on the rebuilt streets. For the first time in centuries, Lithera did not fear the stars. Instead, the planet looked up with pride, hope, and determination. The galaxy had been reminded that even the most abandoned and fragile world could rise, if someone believed in it. And humanity had believed. Years had passed since the battle and the great rebuilding of Lithera. The planet was no longer fragile, no longer abandoned. Cities gleamed under the pale sun. Gardens flourished and laughter echoed through streets that had once been silent for centuries. Children ran freely, their wings and limbs strong, learning both Litheran traditions and human knowledge. The world had healed, but more importantly, its people had grown stronger than anyone in the galaxy could have imagined. Captain Elias Ward walked through the capital, his gaze taking in the scene before him. Litherans and humans worked together seamlessly. Engineers repaired energy grids while children learned mathematics from human teachers. Farmers planted crops with techniques from both planets, creating fields more fertile than ever before. There was pride in every movement, joy in every voice. Sarah moved beside him, carrying a tray of food to share with workers. "They've grown," she said softly, "not just in skill, but in spirit. They are no longer afraid. They believe in themselves." Elder Varen watched from a balcony above the plaza, his translucent skin glowing in the evening light. "We were cast out by the galaxy," he whispered. "We were told we were weak, unworthy, forgotten. But we are alive. We are proud. And we will never forget those who stood by us, humans who saw our value when no one else did." The humans had not only rebuilt the planet, they had rekindled trust, courage, and hope. They had shown the Litherans that true strength comes not from the number of ships or weapons, but from the courage to protect, to uplift, and to act when others fail. And the Litherans had embraced that lesson fully. A festival had been declared to celebrate the planet's renewal. Streets were decorated with glowing lights, gardens with vibrant flowers, and music echoed in every square. Humans and Litherans danced together, sang together, laughed together. It was a celebration not just of survival, but of unity, trust, and triumph over abandonment. Varen leaned over the balcony, looking at the children playing below. "Look at them," he said, tears shining in his eyes. "They will never know the fear of being forgotten. They will grow knowing courage, hope, and the power of humanity." Elias stood beside him. "That is our greatest victory," he said. "The galaxy may judge, may abandon, may doubt, but we have proven that life is never truly alone when humans are willing to act. The Litherans now know their strength, and the galaxy will remember it too." In the skies above Lithera, A new fleet of human Litharan ships rose, not as weapons of war, but as symbols of unity and readiness. The Litharans had learned to pilot and maintain them. They had learned strategy, defense, and resilience, and humanity had taught them something even greater: the confidence to face the stars without fear. As night fell, the twin moons illuminated the city, casting silver reflections over the bustling streets. Children waved to passing ships, elders walked proudly through marketplaces, and humans and Litharans shared stories of past struggles and present victories. The planet was alive, vibrant, and strong. Varen turned to Elias and Sarah. "The galaxy may have turned its back," he said, "but we are no longer afraid. We are no longer weak. Humanity taught us to rise, and we have risen higher than anyone could imagine." Elias nodded, a quiet pride in his voice. "This is why humans act," he said. "We do not leave anyone behind. We lift the fallen, we fight for the helpless, and we remind the galaxy that compassion can be stronger than fear. Hope can be stronger than judgment. Humanity does not abandon, and we never forget." Sarah smiled, watching the Litharans and humans working together, sharing food, teaching, and playing. "They will carry this forward," she said. "Not just on Lithera, but across the stars. They will be the proof of what humanity can do." Elder Varen looked to the stars, feeling the wind brush across his face. "We were cast out, but now we are part of something greater. We have a home, we have allies, and we have hope. Humanity showed us that, and that lesson will live forever in our hearts." In the distance, a young Litharan girl looked up at the sky, pointing at the stars. "One day I will travel there," she said, voice full of excitement. "And I will show them that Lithera is strong, that we are strong, and that humans never left our side." Elias smiled, watching her eyes light up with possibility. Humanity had done more than save a planet. They had inspired a people. The galaxy had cast out the Litharans, but humans had taken them in, and in doing so, they had shown the true meaning of strength, courage, and compassion. Lithera had become a monument to hope, a symbol of resilience, and proof that humanity could rise above the stars as more than survivors. They were guardians, protectors, and catalysts of life. And under the twin moons, with humans and Litharan side by side, the planet whispered its gratitude into the cosmos. A silent promise carried across the stars. No one will ever be abandoned again, not while humanity stands among them. The galaxy had doubted. The galaxy had abandoned, but humanity had acted, and Lithera, once fragile and forgotten, now thrived as a beacon of life, courage, and hope, a testament to the power of compassion, unity, and the unbreakable spirit of both humans and those they chose to protect.